You guys ready?
Yeah, man. Been ready.
Let's go.
And we are live.
Hey, everybody, it's Dale Jr. for the Dale Jr. Download. This is the Ask Junior portion of the show brought to you by Xfinity. They're a proud premier partner of NASCAR, and we appreciate everything they do for our sport across the board. They've been amazing. My co-host Mike Davis is here. As usual, Leah's got your questions that you guys have sent at Xfinity on Twitter, so let's go.
Our first question from Steven Rogers. With us coming out of a doubleheader weekend, do we look at having more doubleheaders, or is it time to start looking at running a track one time a year as other race series do now?
Yeah, I would always say that going to each track once is plenty. We should be going to as many tracks as we can go to, not to go to any track twice, even maybe Talladega and Daytona. And I'm kind of also feel like one street course, one doubleheader, one dirt race. Just try that for a couple years. I mean, if a doubleheader is wildly successful and sustains that success and grows to be this sort of preferred experience for fans, then you think about doing more than one doubleheader. But let that be special and unique to Pocono. Every track needs to have its sort of thing that it's known for, that it's special for. And, Pocono is a destination. People go to Pocono just to vacation. So that's why I think the doubleheader can work, because you're coming into town to a place that you want to be, and you're going to have fun. Plus, you're going to have 2 days of racing. Maybe you come into town for a 3-day weekend, 4-day weekend, whatever. But if you have a doubleheader at a place that's not a destination, not necessarily a vacation town, I don't know if it works as well. So, you gotta. We always need to think about offering the fan an experience, and that race is only a piece of that, right? So, I think You do it at Pocono. We had an amazing weekend. Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate how much fun the races were, all the campers and everybody having fun, and just keep doing that for a couple more years before we really go doubleheader somewhere else.
Next question from Zach Albright. What's your take on the current shuffling of Cup charters that is happening?
Yeah, the Cup charter conversation is crazy. We learn something wild. We hear a new rumor every week. Colleague hearing they spent, $10 million a piece on each of those charters. Don't know if that's true or not. You're hearing that now. I thought that the charter market was around $5 million, $7 million. Now you're hearing it's north of $10 million for a charter. Just, you don't know what to believe. But that's way out of my range, buddy. I'll tell you that. Junior Motorsports ain't going to be racing no Cup Series if that's what the charters are going for. I'll just be honest. With that said, though, man, that's a great thing. The fact that the charters are going up in value just as we speak, that is exactly what they intended. If you're an owner in this sport 10 years ago, if you wanted to sell your team, you had nothing to sell but parts and cars and pieces that are going to be sold for pennies on the dollar. That was it. When you got out, you really took a loss, kind of like buying and selling boats. Anyways, that's another story.
What was that about?
Yeah. Well, I've never had a boat appreciate, and I've never been able to sell one for what I paid for it. And that's the way race teams are, and racing equipment is the same way. When these teams fold or sell, they auction this stuff off, and people get it for a tenth or 20% of what it was worth. So now, if you're an owner and you have a charter, you got real value. You got something that people want and something people are willing to pay for. If you're selling a charter, you're selling it for $10 million. That's $10 million that you weren't going to get when you sold your team 5 years ago. So that's amazing that they've somehow created this charter system and it works. So as bad as I want 2 charters, for Junior Motorsports to go cup racing. I love the idea that these things are expensive and they're going up, and that's a good thing for all of us. That's a good thing for the whole industry.
Next question from Bob Trabuco. I have this memory stuck in my head of your dad breaking a camshaft very early in a race and then seeing him actually tearing it down on TV, turning wrenches and getting it fixed and getting back in the car before the end of the race for points. Am I imagining it?
Charlotte Motor Speedway, they were in the points battle. I think that year they might have lost that championship to Rusty. But they broke an engine in the middle of the 600, and they typically, I mean, if teams broke motors, they loaded it up. You blow the motor, there's too much damage internally, and it's just going to break again. But in this particular instance, it was early in the race, and they thought, let's fix it. Let's figure out let's tear it apart as fast as we can and get it back out there. And I think they did. I think the car got back out there and finished the race. Fortunately enough, the cam broke and didn't do too much damage to the rest of the engine, and they were able to get it going.
Next question from Ryan Jones. How was the Lost Speedway's premiere party last week? It looked like a fun time.
Oh, man. The Lost Speedway's Season 2 comes out July the 1st on Peacock TV. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think it's in front of the paywall. Am I right? You just sign up?
I don't actually know the answer to that. That's a great question.
Well, I know Season 1, you just signed up and created an account on Peacock TV, and you had access to Season 1. And then you could browse and see everything else that Peacock TV has to offer. It's a fast-growing platform that NBC is using, and you know that's where you're going to be able to watch Lost Speedway Season 2. Lost Speedway Season 2. Season 1 was great. We got a lot of success out of that season. We got great reaction. We learned a lot. And so I think when you watch Season 2, you're going to see how much better we got. You're going to see better directing. You're going to see better photography. You're going to see better editing, sound, the storytelling. I think even me and Matthew might have got a little better. But the episodes to me are just more robust, and they have more meat on the bone. So I'm excited for people to watch several of those episodes and get y'all's reaction. And there's some great ones, man. I learned so much in Season 2. We went into Season 1, and I think I knew a lot about most of what we were doing and going to find and see and experience. And in Season 2, I went into a lot of these not knowing as much. And it was a great experience for me to have that education, and I hope that the shows do that for you guys.
All right, one more question. This one's actually from Jenna Fryer, who wrote an awesome article about Lost Speedway Season 2 and was at the premiere party. She says, actually, I have a question. How many T-shirts does Dale Jr. own?
I saw that. So I got a big Tupperware. I got one Tupperware that's full, and those are too small or shirts Amy won't wear. I went on this spree where I was buying any size. If I liked it and wanted the shirt, I bought any size to keep, right? Put away, store. Maybe my daughters will like them or wear them or want them, discover them one day in the storage. I bought a lot of shirts for Amy, thinking she might like them. Some she did, some she didn't. She wears a couple, but the rest went into storage. And then I have a rack of my own that I actively wear. So on that rack, maybe there's about 150 shirts. So I got about 300 shirts, maybe.
That's a lot.
I've been going. I mean, I look on eBay every 2-3 days, just browsing, skimming through. And there's some people out there selling. You know, there's some people out there that sell them and buy them and go and kind of they're like pickers, for like T-shirts, and keep up with those guys and see what they got. Brent Wentz. He's always getting cool stuff, and if he'd just reach out to me, I'd pay him for it right then and there, but he'll post it and list it, and it'll be gone before I ever learn that he's got it. Ticks me off because I'm a good customer of his.
All right, that's all for today, guys.
All right, everybody, I appreciate it. Some great questions. We've got a great guest for the podcast, and his name is Jimmy Means. Jimmy Means is a veteran journeyman race car driver from the 70s and 80s. Now he's a car owner in the Xfinity series. My dad introduced me to him in 1984 at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and me and his son became best friends and hung out for years at the racetrack together and still communicate. I am a big fan of Jimmy Means. He was a hero of mine. He's an independent Worked hard, and I think you guys are going to love his story. So that'll be out later tonight. You guys have a great week.
Well, little producer note. Actually, this week it's Clint Boyer, but that's a good tease for next week.
There you go.
Hey, you let it out of the bag, buddy.
We're so all over the
We're
place now.
excited.
I don't even know what podcast is coming out when. So, yeah.
You're good, bud.
Yeah. You guys have a great week.